Hello, good yo-yo people. I'm Nate, and this is Let's Talk Yo-Yo. Before we get into today's review, I wanted to talk about the channel just a little bit. First off, did you like the new intro? I have a new logo. I went through Fiverr with that, so you do get what you pay for, but I do like it. I think it's better than what it was, which was created by myself, so it's got to be better than that. I wanted to give just a shout out to all my viewers. I'm getting really close to 1,000 subscribers. My encouragement to you is if you've been watching my videos and really enjoying the content I've been putting out, and you've not subscribed, would you do me a favor and subscribe to this channel? That would mean a lot to me. So let's get on to today's review. Today I am reviewing the DK by SF YoYos, collaboration with them and ART. So A Return Tops. All right, this is my review of the DK. This is one of those probably most hyped up yo-yos I've seen for so long. The branding on this yo-yo, the advertisements or whatnot, was just really smart. It almost kind of made it feel like at first, whenever you saw hints of this yo-yo, unless you were in the know, that they were just kind of doing a joke. Like, it's kind of the joke that, some modern yo-yos look like a doorknob, and so, they're like, well, let's just make a doorknob yo-yo. And it was kind of a joke that actually turned into a real product. And they executed it with precision. So maybe that's giving away a little bit here, but it is an excellent yo-yo and so unique. It's such a unique yo-yo that it's difficult to talk about it in categories that even exist. Now, I guess you would call this an organic yo-yo. It's like its own shape. It's like the doorknob shape now. Like, that's its own thing because it is very rounded, obviously. So I guess it would be considered an organic in that way. But yeah, it's just different. When I first saw pictures of this yo-yo, I thought the design and how they fused the two pieces together was similar to the Dices. After further inspection, it doesn't really seem like that's the same approach they took here, because on the Dices, it was kind of pushed through on the axle post, or the so where the axle actually twists in there. So it's not pressed through there. It seems like it's just connected and fused in here somehow with the help of precise machining and that kind of thing. So the yo-yo is actually hollow, and it's two pieces there, and you can see the crease there. You'll see that better on the flyover if you've not seen that. And so, it's impossible to actually, from what I know, right, machine a yo-yo that would be one solid piece surrounded like that would be hollow. If it wasn't hollowed out, it would just not play well at all. So it needs to be hollow, so that it doesn't feel just like a brick. I mean, I guess you would consider this a high wall, but it flares kind of out. Not drastically like a V-shape yo-yo would, but it doesn't just go straight like a typical high wall would. And so you are going to grind against the side there, but with it being a center track bearing in here that came with it, I think that's really going to help it pull away from there. And I don't really feel like it's going to have too much drag issues in the playability. We'll talk about that more in the on the string section, but for now, I think I can guess that it's really not going to pull there. And I have been playing this yo-yo for about a week or so, so I can kind of tell you that that's certainly not the case here, that we're not really losing spin times because of that. The matte finish on this is really beautiful, bead blast finish. You can expect that from most SF yo-yos particularly. Feels a lot like most of their yo-yos, the finish on that. What's kind of cool too is this unique shape, with it being completely rounded over, your hand kind of naturally just locks around it, especially if you have bigger hands like myself. It kind of makes it almost feel like it's more of an undersized instead of a full-sized yo-yo, which it is more on the full-size spectrum, but because it's so rounded over, it kind of has that tinier feel to it than it really is. And so that's kind of an interesting feature just because of the shape. Again, we're kind of talking a new category of shape here with this yo-yo. You're of course not going to be able to do any finger spins, but because of that that dome surface there, you'll be able to do some really interesting palm sort of grinds. Somebody described it, it's like you should try palm grinding it. It's like a stone, you know, feels like a stone skipping over water, you know, kind of thing. I could see that, and so we'll try that on the string section. So all right, I don't know what else I can say about the in the hand section, so let's actually go and play it, and we'll see how it plays. Now, when you're fusing two pieces of metal like that together on each side, you could have a lot of issues with vibe and just really easily make an unplayable yo-yo if the machining isn't just quite right or the design isn't quite right. One of the things I immediately noticed though was I was pleasantly surprised of how smooth this was. It has a tiny bit of that like fingernail grind. I don't think it's going to get 100%. It reminds me of the Dices in that way because you are taking two pieces and putting them together. It's not going to be as smooth as, you know, one solid piece is on each side. But it is pretty darn smooth, and on the string, there's no vibe whatsoever. And you would assume maybe by looking at the pictures that the playability on this would kind of feel like a brick a little bit, that it would be just kind of just way too much of a stone feel to it because of the shape of it and everything. But because it's hollow, they really kind of pushed the weight as much as they could to the rims sort of naturally. And so it's not an overall, as if it was filled completely up, you're not really getting that feel. And so it's actually a pretty nice, nimble throw. Not super, super light, but it's got a nice zip to it where it's, you know, it's fairly comfortable. And oddly enough, it's also actually pretty stable. You know, I'm not really feeling like I'm having to kind of constantly recorrect the plane on this yo-yo. Now, it's not going to be probably great for horizontal for the most part. It's kind of already starting to drag down a little bit, and that's just part of that shape. But it's actually fairly stable for what you would, probably a little more than what you'd expect. That's kind of like all I want to do on this yo-yo, to be honest. It is so fun because of that shape. You just really don't get that with any other yo-yo. And on that catch, like I was talking about, it is super comfortable. I think I'm gonna call this shape Organic Plus because that's what it feels like. It's just like a smooth stone in your hand. Now, what I forgot to mention in the hand section is that it does actually come with a slim bearing or a half spec bearing and a smaller axle. So let me go ahead and get that, and I will show you what that looks like and the responsive setup for that. So I'll be right back. All right, so I went ahead and put in the slim bearing and the shorter axle. All right, so it's still a little unresponsive. In fact, it's almost completely unresponsive, even with that. Oh, here we go. It's more like semi-unresponsive. It's grabbing a little bit, but not as much as I think I want it to. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to throw in some YoMega Thick Lube. That's my favorite go-to, by the way, if you can get it. Do they make it still anymore? I don't know. This one's from like 1997. I still have a lot of this crap left over. I actually found it in my parents' attic. All right, so I'm just going to put a drop in there and see if that gets it where I want it to be. There we go. Maybe 2 drops. Okay, just a little bit. Let it spin for a minute here. This stuff will make any bearing responsive. And so if you're wanting even a full spec bearing and be responsive, which I actually kind of prefer a lot of the times, depending on the yo-yo. Let me sit that down. Anyways, depending on the yo-yo, I actually prefer a heavily lubed full spec C bearing. See, that's the tug I want. There we go. So yeah, just a couple, whatever your thick lube choice is, that should do it. But again, I really like YoMega Thick Lube. And so, yeah, you can be able to do modern style responsive tricks, you know, stalls and so on. Yeah, that's exactly where I want it. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, that's a good response right there. And you're still getting decent spin times on it too. I actually think I prefer it responsive. That's so much fun. Man, I think I'm going to keep the half-spec bearing in this for quite a while. My only question before I end this review today really is this. Now that we have a doorknob-shaped yo-yo, can we now get a quality, modern, high-performance hamburger-shaped yo-yo, perhaps? Somebody's got to work on that. All right, work on it. Hamburger yo-yo. I want to see it. That's going to do it, folks, for my review of the DK collaboration yo-yo between SF and ART. And as usual, good day and good yo-yo.